Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Justice, and today I'm going to talk about some of my all-time favorite Christmas-themed horror movies. You may think Christmas is all about warm cocoa and the cozy fires, but what if the real holiday spirit involved blood, terror, and a killer oftentimes in a Santa Claus suit? In other words, I'm just giving the not-so-gentle reminder that the jolliest time of the year can also be the bloodiest. And who says horror can't bleed through from October all the way to December? This list is in no particular order except for the number one pick. I feel like is a fairly family-friendly one that we all can enjoy, everyone in the household. The first two picks I'm going to mention here are going to be movies that are more or less winter themed versus Christmas, but I feel like the winter vibes can go over into the festive season just a little bit. But without further ado, let's jump on to some of these movies. Now, these first two picks I have are, like I said, they're not Christmas themed, but they're very wintry, and the first one that I'm going to mention here is Never Hike in the Snow. Set 3 months prior to Never Hike Alone, the Friday the 13th fan film, Never Hike in the Snow follows the strange disappearance of Mark Hill, a Crystal Lake resident who went for a hike in the dead of winter only to never come home. I haven't talked much about the Friday the 13th franchise yet on this channel. I'm sure it will come eventually, but what better way to start than with the best fan film that has ever been created for the Friday the 13th franchise. The Never Hike Alone series is so good, highly recommend it, but the reason I picked Never Hike in the Snow is fairly obvious. It's a very winter setup film, and just seeing Jason crunching around in the snow is an overall good time, and the production value for this being a fan film is off the charts. You could very easily see this being a studio feature. Hell, I could see this being the version of Jason that something like Shudder would pick up and throw onto their streaming service, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all, in fact. One thing that they do show here as well, even though there isn't that many kills in this film because it's only 20 minutes, so if you wanted a quick watch, this is a really good example of that. But as I was saying for the kills, one thing that's really cool about this snow setting is the contrast between the very pristine white snow versus the blood that's getting sprayed all over the place. It's a very fun setting to see Jason Voorhees in, so I highly recommend this one. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out, but we'll move on to the next one on this list, which in fact would be Misery. Now, after a famous author is rescued from a car crash by a fan of his novels, he comes to realize that the care he is receiving is only the beginning of a nightmare of captivity and abuse. Now, for a winter-themed horror movie, this one is like top-notch because the entire film is set in this cabin that's out in the middle of Timbuktu during this huge blizzard. And for Stephen King properties, you can't get much better than Misery, and the acting alone in this movie is absolutely phenomenal. You've heard me bitch about it time and time again on the channel if you've seen my videos, but horror movie actors and just films in general don't really get much praise when it comes to the Oscars, yet Kathy Bates won an Oscar for her portrayal of Annie Wilkes here, the ultra demented super fan of the movie, and she fully slips into the role oh so well. You can very much see why this film ended up making her a breakout star and finally made people notice her overall. But if you haven't seen this movie, I would say for a lot of the things on this list, it isn't too gory. There is a couple scenes that are deeply uncomfortable, but a lot of it is more implied than anything else. And if you haven't seen this one before, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Stephen King fan and somehow have missed this one. You should do your homework and go watch it. But before I continue gushing about Misery, we'll move on to the next thing on this list. Going into some more actually Christmas themed things now, we are going to talk about Krampus. A boy who has a bad Christmas accidentally summons a festive demon to his family home. This film was created by the same person who made Trick or Treat, the anthological Halloween movie that's kind of became the mascot of Spirit Halloween in today's day and age. I mean, you can't walk into a Spirit without seeing Sam, and that might be part of my bias for why I like this movie, because if you watch the extended cut of this film, you see little Easter eggs from Trick or Treat in this movie, and I don't care if they were just Easter eggs or fan service. In my mental head canon, they exist in the same universe, especially since we're probably never getting a sequel to Trick or Treat, even though it very much deserves one. This movie is a lot of fun though. It's PG-13, so this is another one that I'd say is fairly safe to watch with the whole family. It doesn't get really gory or anything, and it is also extremely funny throughout, especially a lot of the family dynamics, because in this film you follow this family who's having this huge get-together for Christmas as they all start to fight because they're all like very differing people, things that you just normally see when you go to your own family functions. A lot of the acting in this one is really great as well. I mean, obviously it's good. You have Toni Collette in the cast, need I say more? But one of my all-time favorite characters in it is the aunt that comes over. She is this total drunk, total bitch, and she just drops so many funny one-liners. And again, if you can watch the extended director's cut of this movie, I highly recommend it because they cut some of her amazing lines for reasons I will never know. Krampus 2 is an overall very fun villain as you see him running around and capturing all these different family members, and then also warping all these very typical Christmas themed things. Like you have this really demented looking Jack in the Box that eats somebody. You have all these gingerbread men running around like little psychos. They're like so adorable, but like also like ugly as fuck with like how cheesy the CGI is, but it kind of works here ironically enough. But no, this is another really good movie and perfect for the holiday season. Coming up next though, and the most recent film on this list, is Terrifier 3. Art the Clown is set to unleash chaos on the unsuspecting residents of Miles County as they peacefully drift off to sleep on Christmas Eve. Now, in my bingo card for 2024 movies that were going to come out, I would have never guessed that we would have gotten a Christmas-themed Terrifier movie, and I know Art the Clown is not for everyone. In fact, every single Hot Takes video I've done, you have people talking about how much they think Art the Clown is extremely overrated and just not that good at all, and they can't hang with the gore, which I fully get. My boyfriend doesn't like these movies. I drug him to see the second one, and after seeing that one, he refused to watch the third one with me. I fully get it, man. No judgment from my end of things whatsoever, but I kind of love Terrifier movies. I just love how schlocky and cheesy they get, and this one is no exception. It's so much fun in this entry watching Art the Clown running around in a Santa Claus costume, and then on top of it too, he like is making a parody and bastardizing like the birth of Christ in parts of the film. Like, Art does not give no fucks, nothing is untouchable, and he's here to shock you like he is in every other entry, and it's just a really, really fun inclusion to the franchise and a turn that I didn't expect it to take, because I can't really think of that many horror franchises that made a full-on sequel that was holiday themed, and it's just really fun to see it here. If you can stomach the gore though from these kinds of movies, then I highly recommend it, and you should check this one out too. This next pick is kind of a whole franchise, but we're gonna primarily focus on the first one, and I'm gonna drop a little bit of an honorable mention, I suppose, for a couple other entries in it. But today I'm mentioning Black Christmas from 1974 specifically. The film follows a group of sorority girls who on Christmas break are stalked by a stranger and getting increasingly eerie and depraved phone calls throughout the night. This is one of those examples of how slashers were a thing even before Halloween was a thing, even though they didn't transcend the genre, and they weren't the thing that totally made it blow up like Halloween did. They still stand as very, very good movies, and it's interesting to see some of the things that Halloween may have even picked up from movies like this that came out years prior. Black Christmas is an extremely well-made horror movie with a lot of really amazing kills throughout the entire runtime. The phone calls that you're getting throughout the movie as you're trying to figure out who's sending them and where they're coming from is an extremely interesting mystery to follow along, especially if you haven't had the twist spoiled for you. I will not be spoiling it here, so no worries on that end of the shtick. But another thing too that's really interesting to me about this movie is just how ahead of its time it is. You have this entire subplot about one of the sorority girls struggling with whether or not she is going to get an abortion, and then eventually deciding to and dealing with the aftermath of how her boyfriend reacts to it. I think the entire way they handle it feels like something you would see in a movie nowadays versus something that you would have seen in the 70s, and I think the grace that they handled with it as well was done very, very well in this movie. And again, it's just a very smartly written movie, and a lot of the kills are just extremely Christmas themed throughout. You have characters unwrapping presents as someone's upstairs getting killed. You have a character getting killed while those carolers outside. I mean, need I say more? It's full of all that holly jolly cheer before you hear a scream rip out in the night. But if the 70s vibe isn't up your alley and you want something a little more lowbrow and schlocky and cheesy from the 2000s, then you should check out the Black Xmas remake they did, because phenomenal movie. They did a really good job on that for being a bad movie. It's one of those movies where, like, it's so bad that it's good, you know what I mean? And it very much also continues with the perfect amount of Christmas vibes throughout. Another recommendation for this franchise I'd like to throw out there as well is another fan film that very much could just be seen as a studio quality movie is It's Me, Billy Part 1 and 2, which actually is kind of a legacy sequel to the original 74 film. And if you haven't seen that one, I would highly recommend that as well. They even had plans to bring the original actress from the 74 film into this fan series, but unfortunately due to her health at the time, and I do believe she's unfortunately passed away, she wasn't able to do the film as planned. I would have appreciated seeing her all these years later reprising her character, but at the same rate too, you gotta make sure that you're okay and before you jump onto a project of any kind. Like, you shouldn't be forcing yourself to do shit while you're sick. Other than that, I think that's the entire franchise. I'm pretty positive there isn't any other movies to talk about in the Black Christmas, oh, yeah, there's, that god-awful fucking remake. I do not recommend this movie any less. Out of everything in the franchise, do not watch this one. I know I said everything else that I could think of with it, the fan project, the first remake, the original film, but do not watch Blumhouse's Black Christmas. It is not a good movie. I very rarely would call something woke. I mean, I'm a fucking liberal. Obviously I wouldn't do that, but that's the best way I could describe that installment, was just incredibly woke, and poorly written woke at that matter too. Just don't watch it. You'll regret it. Go watch any other entry in this franchise. Pretend that one just doesn't exist, please. But jumping away from Black Christmas, we're going to talk about a couple of my honorable mentions that I didn't feel comfortable putting on an actual slot of its own because they're not Christmas movies. They're Christmas specials for a couple of horror TV shows that I just wanted to have an opportunity to talk about because it's my channel. I do what I want here, okay? The first one I want to talk about, though, is an all-time classic. It's from Tales from the Crypt, entitled And All Through the House. It follows a greedy woman who makes the mistake of murdering her husband while an escaped mental patient dressed in a Santa Claus outfit is on the loose. If you want to watch this episode, it's only 20 minutes long, and the entire thing is on YouTube. I'll leave a link down below. Hopefully it doesn't get taken down. I highly doubt it though, because I'm pretty sure you can find the entire series on YouTube at this point. And a little tidbit, they are making a new Tales from the Crypt, I heard, on HBO Max. So trust, I think I'm probably going to end up covering that too. Like, all these people talk about how they enjoy the Creepshow franchise, they enjoy the Creepshow series. Not really for me. I just love the camp of it all with Tales from the Crypt, and I just think Again, the Crypt Keeper is just a little badass and such a little diva, too. He's just awesome, very, very relatable. But this episode is easily one of the biggest standouts of the series for me. It's one of my all time favorites, and it's one that I typically think of when I think of this series. It's the first one that always comes to mind, is what I'm getting at in a roundabout way. The acting in it is very over the top, but iconic, as you see this woman trying to hide the body of her dead husband, only to be attacked by this psycho in a Santa Claus outfit, and then just seeing her go toe to toe with him, the two psychos. It's just a very, very fun inclusion. I don't really have much else to say other than that. It's just iconic, to the point where even American Horror Story made their own little reference to the episode when they got the main actress from this in their series, and I gotta admit, it was a lot of fun, even if it was only like a 5-minute scene. I'm not recommending American Horror Story though, I'm recommending this, and if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. Again, it's only like 20 minutes long, so you wouldn't be wasting that much time to see this one. My other pick would be the Chucky Christmas Special, which back in Hackensack for the holidays, Devin, Lexi, and Jake receive a special gift from Chucky. I know the Chucky TV series is extremely hit or miss for most people. In fact, just watching this episode alone would probably be, we're gonna take away the probably, it would definitely be extremely confusing to just skip over like 2 seasons of television and start here, but I had to mention it because I love that little redheaded bastard, and this episode is just so much fun. Of course, you have Chucky running around with his super iconic one-liners. It goes into some of the kind of like camp that you see in the Seed of Chucky or Bride of Chucky movies, while still having some extremely gory and fun moments throughout the episode. Jennifer Tilly is admittedly very fun and, as always, extremely, extremely iconic, as she's running around in this very sparkly green dress through most of the episode, very, very Christmassy themed again, as she's trying to figure out how to get placed back into a doll body. But again, this is just so much fun, and I would have been upset at myself at bare minimum if I didn't mention it, because I know no one asked to hear about it, but god damn it, I was going to talk about it. I decided here today. But for my number one pick, and as I mentioned it, it's fun for the whole family, is Gremlins. After receiving an exotic animal as a Christmas gift, Billy inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet, which unleashes a horde of mischievous creatures on a small town. You can't get much better for horror-themed Christmas movies than Gremlins. Everybody likes Gremlins, and I need to talk to the person that does it and figure out why, because it is just such a fun movie, and like, why you gotta be a fun sucker, man. The entire movie, though, is extremely endearing. The family dynamic in it is super adorable, and of course, all the puppetry in this film has aged so well. I don't need to be the one to say that. You all know damn well. You've seen the movie, but the Gremlins are just so cool as you're seeing them running around being these mischievous little bastards, and of course, it's all extremely, extremely 80s, but in the most heartwarming way possible. You have Gizmo, who's running around being his adorable little self, and of course, this movie is just extremely bleeding with Christmas, as you have the Gremlins running around as carolers, throwing around and eating gingerbread men, and then of course the extremely dark twist when you find out what happened to the main love interest of the movie's father. It's a very dark and sad scene, but an iconic one nonetheless, and it shows this movie has more heart than just being a comedy. So if you're gonna watch a movie for Christmas and you want those horror vibes for the whole family, then why not watch Gremlins? And I last second decided that I can't really put this on the list, and it just popped in my head because it's not very Christmassy, but like the ending of it is Christmas, but like Edward Scissorhands, need I say more? I'm pushing the envelope a little bit there, but I feel like it has similar vibes to Gremlins, and we could include that on this list here, but I won't give it a dedicated section because I won't push the envelope that much with you guys today. Anyways, that's going to conclude my recommendations for my favorite Christmas-themed horror movies, or just winter-themed ones, I guess, too, hence the first 2 I mentioned on the list. You guys should let me know what some of your picks are down below, if there's anything that I forgot, or stuff that you like watching during this holiday season. But if you are new here and you haven't seen my videos before and you want more content in the future just like this, then I would love if you click that subscribe button. I cover everything and anything horror on this channel. But with that all out of the way, this has been Justice, and I really hope to see you guys on the next one. Take care.